Welcome to RichTrybe. I'm Richard, and I've got Monique here with me today. Look, we are diving straight into one of the absolute most dangerous financial traps out there right now, the too much house trap. We're talking about breaking the cycle of looking rich versus actually being wealthy. And it's a trap that doesn't just catch the middle class. It's taking out doctors, lawyers, high-powered executives. People are literally making more money than ever, but they're stuck on this endless treadmill, totally panicked about missing just one paycheck. And it's all because they fundamentally misunderstand what it actually means to be wealthy.
Hey, Richard. Thanks for having me. I gotta say, though, this feels a bit backwards at first glance, right? I mean, when we see someone rolling up in luxury cars to a massive house, society literally screams at us, hey, they made it. Those are the wealthy ones.
And that right there is exactly the illusion we are going to shatter in this explainer. Stick around to the end because we're going to show you exactly how to flip your mindset from just trying to look rich to quietly building absolute, impenetrable generational wealth. Okay, Richard, let me challenge you right out of the gate here. What does bankruptcy actually look like for the rich? When we hear about financial struggle, we naturally think of low-income earners. How does someone pulling in a top 1% income end up totally broke?
It's a really great question, Monique. See, from what I've seen working with high net worth folks over the years, when the rich go broke, they do not do it quietly. It is spectacular, and it's almost always driven by massive leverage and just a total lack of liquidity.
Just look at this scenario. An 18,000 square foot home and $90,000 a month in maintenance. This is the real-world story of Richard Fiscone, highly successful finance executive. Back in the mid-2000s, he borrowed insanely heavily to expand his mega mansion in Greenwich. We're talking 11 bathrooms, 2 elevators, 7 garages. But the absolute kicker, it cost over 90 grand a month just to keep the lights on and maintain the place. Wait, $90,000 a month just on maintenance? That is way more than most people make in an entire year. Exactly. So when the 2008 financial crisis hit, all his highly leveraged, illiquid assets just turned to dust. The guy actually stood before a bankruptcy judge and declared zero income. He fell into the classic trap of confusing his borrowing power with real wealth, building a lifestyle that required this monumental, non-stop river of cash just to survive. So let's look at section 1. The wealth illusion, looking rich versus being wealthy. That Fuscone story is wild, but it really begs the question, how do so many smart, driven people confuse having nice stuff with actually possessing real wealth? Like, where does this illusion start?
Well, it's deep social conditioning. We are constantly bombarded with the visible byproducts of being rich. The exclusive zip codes, the designer brands. But we don't see the hidden mechanics of true wealth. Check this out. On the left, we've got Joe. He's an investment banker making $900,000 a year. 4,000 square foot house, 2 Mercedes in the driveway. Strictly speaking, Joe's income can actually handle this consumption.
Right, the cash flow is there to support it. But what about Peter on the right?
Right, so Peter is a bank branch manager making $80,000 a year. Peter looks at Joe and basically feels this subconscious entitlement to the exact same lifestyle, purely because society tells him that's what success looks like. So what does Peter do? He signs on for a suffocatingly massive mortgage. He racks up $45,000 in credit card debt. He leases cars he'll never own. He is stretching himself to the absolute breaking point just to project this fake image of wealth, while financially, he is literally drowning.
Okay, I see how Peter gets trapped. But is this actually a widespread systemic thing, or is it just a few irresponsible consumers making bad choices? Do we have proof?
Oh, we absolutely do. The proof is right there in the macro data. Look at how the house trap is visualized here. From the 1970s through the 2000s, median wages in America were practically flat once you adjust for inflation. Yet, despite that, the median size of a new American home somehow ballooned by 50%.
So, wages didn't really budge, but people were somehow buying houses half a size larger? How does that even work?
2 words: debt and leverage. We basically normalized massive household debt as a culture. People willingly traded their future financial freedom just for some immediate extra square footage. They locked up all their cash in these oversized homes, leaving absolutely nothing left over to invest in the productive assets that actually build long-term wealth.
Which leads us perfectly into section 2, rich versus wealthy, where we redefine what true wealth is. Okay, Richard, let me push back a bit here. Because we've literally always been taught that buying the biggest house you can possibly afford is the ultimate American dream. Isn't real estate one of the best investments you can make? Doesn't a massive house equal wealth?
Man, that is the exact misconception that keeps the middle class broke. When we're talking about building actual wealth, it entirely comes down to understanding the clear difference between an asset and a liability. The millionaire next door types, they know this in their bones, An asset has intrinsic value. It grows over time, and most crucially, it creates cash flow. It puts money in your pocket.
And the liability?
A liability consumes your money, your time, and your energy over time. When you buy a house that's way too big for what you actually need, you aren't just paying that mortgage. You are paying higher property taxes, bigger utility bills, endless maintenance costs, insurance. It's a depreciating physical structure, sitting on appreciating land, sure, but the structure itself is just constantly draining your cash. Bottom line, if it takes money out of your pocket every single month, it is a liability.
I really want you to see this comparison. On the left, we have the Henry, the high earner not rich yet. This is your $200,000 a year corporate lawyer. Leases a $900 a month SUV, rents a $4,000 penthouse, eats out every single day. Savings, zero. If he loses his job, he's facing bankruptcy in 30 days. He's totally stuck on the hedonic treadmill. Wow, okay. And then on the right, we've got Theodore Johnson, a UPS worker pulling in maybe $14,000 a year, but with a $70 million net worth? Crazy, right? Theodore never had a huge salary, but the man deeply understood assets. He lived frugally, invested consistently into company stock, and just let compound interest do all the heavy lifting. Income does not equal wealth. Wealth is simply what you keep and what your money goes out and earns for you while you are sleeping. And that brings us straight to Section 4, the gap strategy, the actual mechanics of building real wealth. That contrast is honestly mind-blowing. It really proves that anyone can do this regardless of their paycheck size. So for the average earner watching this explainer right now, what is the exact blueprint to avoid the Henry trap and build real wealth like Theodore?
It all boils down to a very simple yet highly strategic three-step framework. Look, a high income is an amazing tool, but only if you actually capture it. Step 1. You have got to automate your savings, treating it like a non-negotiable bill. Before rent, before groceries, pay yourself first. Step 2. Live frugally, deliberately staying 1 or 2 steps below your actual income tier. So if you make $150,000, live like you only make $80,000.
And that creates the gap?
Exactly. What I always teach people is that wealth is strictly built in the empty space you create between your income and your expenses. Step 3 is where the absolute magic happens. You redirect that gap into productive, appreciating assets. Index funds, real estate, businesses. You take the money you didn't blow on a bigger house or a luxury car, and you use it to literally buy your financial freedom.
And this perfectly illustrates how the wealthy view the world through the lens of opportunity cost. When a typical consumer looks at a receipt, they just see a price tag. But to an investor, a $10 impulse buy today, like an expensive daily coffee habit, equals burning tens of thousands in future 30-year compounded assets.
Because they don't just see the $10, right?
Exactly. They calculate the opportunity cost. If that same $10 went into a compounding asset over 30 years, it becomes tens of thousands of dollars. They realize that spending money to look rich today literally burns the capital you need to actually be wealthy tomorrow. It is a massive, profound shift in financial literacy. Now, before we reveal the final, absolute, most crucial mindset shift you need to permanently escape this trap, subscribe to the RichTrybe channel, like, comment, and share. We are building a real community here dedicated to true financial empowerment. And sharing this knowledge is how we break the cycle together. All right, let's get into Section 5, developing a wealth mindset, thinking like an investor. So we've covered the math, the assets, the gap strategy. But human behavior is incredibly psychological, right? What is the fundamental mental difference between someone who stays a lifelong consumer and someone who actually transforms into a wealth builder?
That's the perfect question, Monique, because you can have the absolute best mathematical blueprint in the world. But if your psychology is flawed, you're still going to go broke. Mindset matters way more than money. First off, you have to prioritize long-term thinking over immediate gratification. You got to stop needing that quick dopamine hit from a new purchase. Second, extreme ownership over excuses. Instead of saying, I can't afford this, which basically shuts your brain off, you ask, how can I afford this? Which forces your brain to focus on value creation.
And what about that last point? Discipline over emotion. That seems incredibly tough, especially when the stock market is crashing and everyone's panicking.
It is the ultimate test for sure. Wealthy people aren't emotionless robots. They've just learned to put a pause between feeling panic and taking action. When the market dips, a consumer panics and sells everything. A wealth builder, they see a buying opportunity. They view volatility as just the standard admission fee for long-term gains, not a fine to run away from. They have the discipline to stick to their strategy.
So I want to leave you all with a really provocative question to challenge how you view your paycheck. If your income doubled tomorrow, what's the very first thing you'd do? Would you buy a bigger house or would you buy your freedom? Would you instantly upgrade your lifestyle and fall right back into the trap of expanding your liabilities just to show off how much money you make?
It's such a powerful question because buying that bigger house just throws you right back onto the hedonic treadmill.
Hit the nail on the head, Monique. The ultimate goal of money isn't to buy luxury. It's to buy optionality. It's the ability to walk away from a toxic job, to travel, to dictate exactly how you spend your time. Real wealth is silent. It's hidden in investments and savings, quietly working behind the scenes so you don't have to. Stop focusing on looking rich and start focusing on buying your freedom. Thanks for tuning into this explainer, and we will see you next time on RichTrybe.